Bill O'Reilly here, Monday, February 15th, 2021. You are listening to the O'Reilly Update. Here's what's happening today in America. Some Republican senators sanctioned for voting to convict Donald Trump. Senator Lindsey Graham says the impeachment of Kamala Harris is possible. The Minneapolis City Council now asking for more police after voting to dismantle their department. Cops in New Orleans promised to crack down on Mardi Gras revelers. The pandemic changing our religious habits. Also ahead, a fair and honest assessment of the impeachment situation. But first, 7 GOP Grand Old Party lawmakers facing a big backlash after siding with Democrats in the Senate impeachment vote. Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy was censured. That's a formal rebuke by his state's Republican Party. Nebraska's Ben Sasse also facing a similar situation. Senator Lindsey Graham suggesting Vice President Kamala Harris could be impeached should Republicans take back the House in 2022. In June, Ms. Harris urged people to contribute to the Minnesota Freedom Fund, a group posting bail for rioters arrested during the George Floyd protests. That is sympathy for violent people, is it not? Officials in Minneapolis voting to add $6.4 million to the law enforcement budget after promising to abolish the entire department last summer. More than 200 officers in Minneapolis have left the city since July, about 20% of the entire force. Violent crime in Minneapolis up double digits compared to the same time last year. What a shock, right? New Orleans police chief telling tourists and locals to stay off the streets on Fat Tuesday, that's tomorrow. Authorities are closing bars, banning parades, handing out hefty fines for folks who decide to celebrate publicly. Last year's celebrations directly linked to a massive spike in COVID in Louisiana. The global pandemic also impacting religious practices. 60% of U.S. adults say they have prayed for the outbreak to end. That includes 49% who rarely worship or have no religious affiliation. Most prayers are held in private. 7 in 10 are still staying home on Saturdays and Sundays to avoid catching COVID. In a moment, honest coverage of the second impeachment trial. It's very hard to find, but we have it. Next. How bad is your back, knee, or neck pain? Mine was pretty bad. I played 4 sports when I was younger, and it's catching up with me now. I tried a lot of stuff to manage the pain. Ointments, pain relievers, fish oil, nothing worked. So a doctor friend of mine recommended Omega XL, and here's why. The underlying cause of painful, achy joints and muscles is inflammation. The key to knock down inflammation before it causes damage is backed by 35 years of research, and that's what Omega XL does. The doctor also says, quote, I can't write any prescription that comes close to what Omega XL accomplishes. She was right. So if you're suffering with painful, achy joints and muscles, stop wasting money and switch to Omega XL. Order Omega XL now and get a second bottle free. Visit OmegaXL.com/Bill, OmegaXL.com/Bill, or you can call 800-844-4888. 800-844-4888. Time now for the O'Reilly Update message of the day. What really happened in the second impeachment with some help from William Shakespeare. Hopefully the witch's spell that has been cast on Washington, D.C. will now be lifted as President Trump avoids an impeachment conviction again. Shakespeare would have loved all this in the context of his play Macbeth and its Song of the Witches. Double, double, toil and trouble. Fire burn and cauldron bubble. Cool it with a baboon's blood. Then the charm is firm and good. But there is no charm in America, as the country continues to destroy its credibility and sensibility of fairness. Few media and politicians care about objective truth anymore, now more than ever. It's all about power and money. Regarding the aftermath of the presidential election, here is a truthful assessment. President Trump lost all perspective, and acted irresponsibly in challenging the outcome. Instead of listening to people feeding his ego with unverifiable theories, Mr. Trump should have called for a federal forensic-based investigation of suspect voting precincts. When an incumbent president receives more than 74 million votes and loses, that is certainly a reasonable request. But a thorough probe never materialized. Instead, both parties fed their supporters emotional propaganda as the courts walked away from intruding on the tabulated results. As his frustration grew, Donald Trump encouraged Americans to reject the tabulations, and millions did. The president believed that some magic might occur and proof of massive fraud could surface. It never happened. Then, in a last-ditch attempt to prevent Joe Biden from assuming office, Mr. Trump participated in the January 6 D.C. protest. That resulted in a national disaster, as we all know. But Michael Van der Veen, a lawyer who defended Donald Trump in the Senate trial, presented a strong argument, quote, "At no point in their presentation did you hear House managers play a single example of Mr. Trump urging anyone to engage in violence of any kind. He engaged in no language of incitement whatsoever," unquote. Now, that doesn't mean Donald Trump did not want a massive protest on his behalf. He did. But Mr. Trump is a smart man who had to understand that any violence could not have possibly helped him. After the impeachment acquittal, Republican Senator Mitch McConnell said Donald Trump acted in a reckless manner, which is an opinion held by many. But the charge was inciting violence against the government of the United States. Simply put, evidence to convict on that charge was not there. By the way, if being reckless is the standard, Vice President Harris could surely be impeached for urging Americans to bail out violent rioters last summer. History should record two things. First, President Trump hurt his own country by embracing destructive after-election tactics. Secondly, that the Democratic Party, actively aided by a corrupt media, persecuted Donald Trump in an unfair and unprecedented manner throughout his entire tenure. And that's the truth. No witch's spell is needed to tell it. I'm Bill O'Reilly, and I approve that message by writing it. Disagree? I'd like to hear from you. Bill@BillO'Reilly.com, Bill@BillO'Reilly.com. In a moment, something you might not know. Looking for your next investment? Bill O'Reilly here. There are 7 reasons to look at the NRIA Real Estate Development Fund, and here they are. Monthly cash flow payouts of 10% annualized with bonuses up to 21%. They strategically choose low-risk, high-demand neighborhoods that people are moving to. Prime new construction is a sector that is short on supply and high on demand. Diversification and safety from stock market risk. They have a short and a long-term strategy for returns today and down the road. Pandemic-hardened, specialty-designed buildings that are open and airy. If you've been sitting on the sidelines, or if you want to diversify for safety and cash flow, start your due diligence at nria.net, or please call 800-800-1414. That's 800-800-1414.
An offer of securities is only made by the NRIA Private Placement Memorandum. Read it first. Past performance does not guarantee future results. NRIA is a real estate development firm. Learn more at nria.net.
Now, the O'Reilly Update brings you something you might not know. Socrates is regarded as one of the most important figures in Western civilization. The Greek thinker best known for his teachings on justice, politics, religion, and scientific research. What many people do not know is that Socrates was ultimately sentenced to death for the crime of, quote, moral corruption. The troubles for Socrates culminated on this day in 399 BC. The philosopher was renowned around Athens as a free thinker, teaching his students some pretty unorthodox things. They included questioning the existence of the Greek gods. Following years of contentious relationship with local rulers and the military, Socrates was ultimately dragged before a court and charged with 2 counts: acts of aggression against the deities and corruption of youth. Athenian juries were drawn by lottery from a group of hundreds of males. 500 people would decide his fate. 280 votes were against Socrates, 221 for his acquittal. So, the philosopher was found guilty on both charges, including, quote, disbelief in the gods of the state. His sentence, death. Now, the friends of Socrates wanted to bribe guards so that he could escape his execution, but he said it would show he was afraid of death, claiming he wouldn't be a real philosopher if he escaped and lived his life in hiding. According to Plato, a student of Socrates, a 71-year-old philosopher was forced to drink poison. He was instructed to pace around the room until his legs felt numb. After he lay down, the man who administered the poison pinched his foot. Socrates felt nothing. The numbness slowly crept up his body until it stopped his heart. And here's something else you might not know. Socrates' sharp wit and intellect remained until the very end. His final words before succumbing to the poison, all philosophy is nothing but training for death. Indeed. Socrates executed on this day. Back after this. Thousands of animals are abandoned in the wilderness in America, and they need your help. I partnered up with Delta Rescue, the largest no-kill, care-for-life animal sanctuary in the world. Founded by actor Leo Grillo, Delta Animal Sanctuary is a one-of-a-kind rescue. Trained attendants look after each animal, providing them with food, treats, toys, and affection. Also, Delta Rescue has an on-site animal hospital that operates 365 days a year, and unlike others, Delta Rescue believes in giving animals a right to life. They allow all moms to have their litters, then care for the entire family for life. Delta Rescue relies solely on donations from people like us to help fulfill their mission. Support Delta Rescue and put your legacy to work. Delta's tax-saving estate planning. Grow your estate while letting your compassion for animals live on well into the future. Learn more at deltarescue.org/bill. deltarescue.org/bill. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.